Hello, everybody. It's Connie Stewart with SimplySimpleStamping.com. I'm so glad you guys could join me today. We're going to be talking thank you cards today. You know, if there's ever a card we probably send the most, it is thank you cards. But we are looking for quick and we are looking for easy, and I have you covered today. We're going to be creating two cards with just a simple little fun fold. And I mean, it's simple, but it's going to set your card apart. I think you're really going to enjoy this one. And bonus, if you have followed my flashcard series in the past, we're going to be bringing in some of those flashcards today. So let's get started creating our thank you cards.
All right, we're going to get started with our first card, and I'm going to use the stamp set from Stampin' Up! Layering Leaves. I love this one. I don't know about you. I love a stamp set that has a lot of different images and lots of different sentiments. This means I can do just about anything with it, but today we're going to focus on a thank you card. Before I share the measurements, I do want to let you know that there is a free download that goes along with my cards today, and you're going to have all the supplies, your measurements, photos. If you need to come back and watch the video, you can click or scan the QR code and then to place an order. I'd love to be your Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. You can click right there, and that's where you'll see all the supplies. You can order there as well. All that to say, don't worry about writing down any measurements. I've got you covered with my free download, and we are going to create this gorgeous lemon lime twist thank you card. It's bright, it's happy. Let me go ahead and share the measurements for the cardstock. It couldn't be any easier. I have a piece of lemon lime twist, 5.5 by 8.5. I'll go over the scoring in a minute. If you are familiar with flashcards, this is a series I started, oh gosh, at least 10 years ago. And I am going to be using some flashcard pieces today. I'll put the link to flashcards up there in the corner if you want to check it out. This is a piece of Coastal Cabana. That is a 2 3/4 by 4 1/4. And then I have a piece of basic white that's just a little bit smaller, 2.5 by 4. The last thing you're going to need is a piece of basic white. This is for the inside of the card. This is a 4 by 5 1/4. All right, let's start with some very simple scoring. I'm going to use my paper trimmer. You can also use your Simply Scored board. Guys, I am just going to line that up at the 1-inch mark. Okay, let me set that there. By the way, make sure your cutting blade is up and out of the way. We don't want to cut, we want to score. So I'm going to score that at 1 inch, and now I'm going to rotate it around, and I'm going to line it up at 5 1/4. So I'm going to score at 5 1/4. So we had 1 inch and 5 1/4. And now you can see that's how I'm going to create just a unique fold. It was so simple, right? Now we're going to do a little embossing to our card front. I love the look of dry embossing. I'm going to be using the Basics 3D embossing folders. I loved this one. I wanted simple. It's just a great little crosshatch pattern. Let me show you how we're going to go about embossing both sides of this cardstock. I'm going to open this up. I'm going to place the cardstock in my folder, and I want to line it up right there on the edge. Can you see how I did that? I'm just using that score line as a base. Let's run this through our die cut and emboss machine. And for a 3D folder, we need the base plate number 1, and you can see it's going to tell you right here we need to use with embossing folders that are 3D, and then on top of that, we're going to need plate number 4. So those are our two folders. All right, so once again, I'm going to get my cardstock lined up. I'm going to place it in my machine going long ways. You know, normally we would run it through this way, but I'm going to have you turn that around. You notice it's kind of sitting in the middle of my base plate. I'm going to place my embossing plate number 4 right on top. Let me run this through. And you can now see how we were able to emboss the front of our card. But what about this little flap? I wanted to emboss it too. Friends, we're going to do the exact same thing, only this time we're going to put just that little end piece, that 1 inch scored area, back into the machine, add plate number 4. We're going to emboss this one. And now you can see we have that gorgeous embossing on both sides. Now, if you didn't already crease your score lines, you can always go back and do it one more time. I like to do it on the back side, so I try really hard not to press down on any of my beautiful embossing. All right, our card base is ready. Now it's time to do some stamping. So we're going to be stamping on our 2 pieces of basic white, but guys, we need to do a little bit of cutting to our smaller piece of basic white. This is that 2.5 by 4. And what I'm going to have you do is get the stamp that has your sentiment. We're going to do a little quick measure. Grid paper is great for this. So when I put it here, I can see about a 1-inch area is just perfect for holding my sentiment. If you need more or you need less, you measure yours. And now we're going to take this and we're going to trim 1 inch off. I'm going to set that off to the side, and now I'm actually going to do just a tiny bit more trimming. All right, this is going to kind of give me a nice space. I'm going to cut this one down. I'm just going to cut 1/4 of an inch off. That's all I need is 1/4 of an inch. That is going to be some scrap. So I've got my white cardstock. It is now cut and ready to stamp. And so I'm going to bring in a Memento black ink pen. I'm going to take my thank you so much. Now that it's cut, I can see exactly where to stamp that. All right, there's my thank you. I'll set that off to the side. Now here on this one, this is where we're going to stamp our leaves. And I don't know if you knew this about the layering leaves stamp set, but it is a 2-step stamp. I'm going to stamp those pretty little leaves right there in the center. And then since I still have my black out, we're gonna put just a little light speckle, just a light touch. Okay, it's just a pretty little speckle. Right. So we're gonna come back in with our thank you so much, stamp that at the top, and let's come back in with our leaves, and again just a little bit of speckle. It's magic time. It is 2-step stamping time. I'm going to bring in a lemon lime twist. I'm telling you, this is such a fun and bright color. And if you're not familiar with 2-step stamping, this is 2-step stamping. Can you see how I can see right through that stamp? It's a photopolymer stamp. And look at that. I can stamp it perfectly. No coloring. No, we're going easy peasy today, guys. We will just stamp that lemon lime twist. It's time to put our card together. I'm going to add adhesive here to the inside of my card. This will just slide right in here. By the way, even before I add this, I need to let you know, if you want that short side on the left or the right, you decide. In fact, my next card, I'm going to be flipping it around for you. So you do have some options there, but I decided to do it there on the left. So the inside is done. Now we're going to very quickly do the front of our card. I'm going to bring in Stampin' Dimensionals. Very simple to just add great dimension to a card. There's little backings on the back of my Stampin' Dimensionals. We'll remove these. And actually, I think I'll start with my sentiment. Now I can come along with my focal image. And now you can kind of see why we did that little bit of trimming. See, it leaves that little space in between. Just kind of gives it a little something extra. We're going to adhere this to the front of our card, and we can do that just with some Stampin' Seal or your multi-purpose glue, whichever one you prefer. I'm going to center that up in this flap, and I decided I wanted to dress it up a little bit more. I'm going to take some Pool Party of grosgrain ribbon. I've got a trick for you, and that trick is glue dots. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to take a glue dot, and I'm going to put that glue dot right where I want my bow to go. Can you see that there? All right, we're going to take our ribbon. You're going to slide it inside. It's going to take about 16 inches of ribbon. And I'm going to bring this around, and I'm going to tighten a knot right over that glue dot. Are you ready? So there, I've just tied it over once, and right, I can see that glue dot. By the way, you notice I'm pulling it up and down instead of side to side. Your best square knots are going to be up and down, not side to side. I can find that glue dot, give it a press, and now look, I have the ability to work with this ribbon without fighting it. I love to put mini glue dots underneath little knots and bows and things, and let me tell you why. Because it holds it in place, first of all, and we love that. By the way, you notice I'm only going to pull what's in my left hand. Did you see how that knot kind of slides right in? If you only pull what's in your left hand, look at your pretty not. But here's the great thing. That ribbon's not going to slide around because it's attached with a glue dot, so it kind of serves double duty. And there we go. But you know what? I said, no, it needs just a little bit more. So if you want to really dress it up, I'm going to come in with the Stella brush. Are you guys familiar with this one? This is a glitter brush. It just adds this fine shimmer. So for those of you who hate glitter, but you love shimmer, the Stella brush is definitely for you, because let me show you what we get. Oh, I hope it'll show up there on camera. Yeah. Can you see that shimmer? Let's do one more thing. Let's add a few brass butterflies. Again, we've kind of got this fabulous color, and I said, I just wanted a little bit more. So I'm going to add a few of these little brass butterflies. By the way, if you've not seen these, what's great, they're really nice and thin. So they're not going to have a lot of bulk when you go to mail them. But yeah, I think just adding that and that Stella shimmer just made all the difference. I've got another card to share with you. Look at this one in Berry Burst and Pretty Peacock. What a gorgeous combination. Guys, this one's going to be done in the same way, but we're going to use a different stamp set, and our cutting is going to be just slightly different. Let me show you how to create this card. The measurements for everything are exactly the same. The only thing I changed were the colors. So instead of Lemon Lime Twist and Coastal Cabana, Pretty Peacock and Berry Burst. We'll score again at 1 inch and 5 1/4 inch. But this time we're not going to emboss. No, we're going to do a little stamping for our background instead. Now for this card, I decided I wanted that short flap over here on the right. Again, just to kind of mix things up. This card features Quiet Meadow, a wonderful card. Look at our flowers, but this really caught my attention, and this speckle. All right, we're actually going to use several stamps, and we're going to say you're too kind. Let's start with this great and simple background. Here's another great tip for you. I'm going to put a piece of just copy paper in here. Guys, junk mail is a great resource for this. We just want to do it so we don't get ink anywhere else on our card. And I'm going to ink up my words, and I'm just going to stamp these all the way down my card, just on this flap. All right, all the way down. And then we're going to follow up. We're going to add a little speckle. Now keep in mind, our focal image is going to cover most of this. All right, so with that speckle, I'm just going to ink it up, and you notice I'm stamping a couple times. So I don't necessarily re-ink every time, but that's going to give me just some really great texture on my card. All right, let's get to stamping our front image and the inside. I have measured my stamp, and about 3/4 inch is going to be perfect. So we're going to trim that down to 3/4 inch. So I'll stamp on that piece. But remember what we do here? Let's cut off another 1/4 inch so that we get that nice spacing. In my Memento Black, I'm going to stamp You're Too Kind. And then there's a little flower in this set. And I'm just going to give those a couple little stamps right there. Let me move this. We will be doing a little bit of coloring. And now we'll work on that front focal image and the inside of the card as well. All right, so we have got this gorgeous set of flowers. And you see, it's not going to fill up the entire piece of cardstock. So we'll just stamp where we can. That looks awesome. Remember that speckle? Let's come in and we'll just give a little touch there and a little touch there. On the inside of the card, I'm really just going to focus here on the flowers. We'll put that down here at the bottom, add a little speckle, and now we're going to do a little coloring. So I'm actually going to fold this. I want to make sure I'm not going to bleed through. Obviously, you can use your grid paper for this. I'm going to be using the dark Berry Burst, all right? Normally with blends, I would use both the light and the dark. By the way, this can also be done with your Stampin' Write markers, okay? I decided to use the blends, but you can also use the markers. It works great. Now I'm going to use my dark Old Olive, and let's get our leaves and our stems. Now, you may be wondering, why didn't I use both the light and the dark? Well, this particular stamp set, Quiet Meadow, it has some shading already built in by the artist at Stampin' Up. I love how good they make me look because this is just, it's so easy. But because that shading is built into the stamp, that means I can look like I'm an amazing watercolor artist when I'm not. And you can see we can just go right over those. And it's that black that's kind of popping through and making those flowers just look amazing. All right, so this is what the card looks like when we've put it all together. You notice I've used my Wink of Stella and my little brass butterflies again, colored everything in. This time I used some baker's twine on the side of my card instead of the ribbon. And boom, no time, we've got two very simple and easy cards. Now remember, even if you don't have these stamps, I know you have something. You have something that will work in that area. Get creative with what you have fun, and be sure to grab your free download over at simplysimplestamping.com, or you can look down in the YouTube description for the direct link.
Thanks so much for stopping by today. If you enjoyed the cards, would you give me a thumbs up on YouTube? I always appreciate that. And if you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button there on YouTube, and they can let you know whenever I'm back with a new video. I'd love to have you join. While you're at it, if you've got some crafty friends, pass along my channel, Simply Simple Stamping. The more the merrier around here. Thank you again, guys. Have a great day. Go send a thank you card. See you next time. Bye-bye.